Moving on to file item 285, Senator Nielsen. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 413 by Assemblymember Chavez, enacting to veterans.
Senator Nielsen.
President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill by Assemblymember Chavez fixes a provision that allows a child or spouse of a disabled veteran to continue the operation of the veteran's business, the disabled veteran's business, for up to 3 years, but only for the purposes of entering into a contact with another entity to continue. This allowed the survivor to enter into a new DVB business after the death of their loved one, if the contract can be completed within the 3-year period, the ongoing period of the creation authorized of that disabled veteran's business. It only allows the business, if you will, to remain in operation for a short time, allowing the family to continue to provide for themselves and to restructure the business after the death of their loved one. I urge an aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Cannella. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Gaines. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Leva. Aye. Liu. Leno. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Aye. Pan. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Senator Nielsen moves the call. Moving on to file item 287, Senator Pavley. Pass on file. File item 289, Senator Hertzberg. At his desk. Oh, there we are. Come on down, Senator Hertzberg. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 515 by Assemblymember Eggman, an act relating to food banks.
Senator Hertzberg.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Food waste, members, if you can believe this, represents about 15% of California's solid wastes. There's more than 6 million tons of food products dumped annually, enough to fill, in Los Angeles, the Staples Center 35 times. Meanwhile, as we know and we've heard on this floor on many, many issues, more and more Californians continue to go hungry. Tonight, 1 in 5 children won't have enough to eat for dinner. Meanwhile, up to 30% of all of food produced never gets to the market, and up to 40% of all delivered food never gets eaten. This measure by Assemblymember Eggman expands the successful state tax credit for food donations, particularly with an emphasis to help small farmers. This is a common-sense, thoughtful measure that deals with a horrible imbalance in terms of food sustainability in California. I ask for your support of this measure.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Cannella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Aye. Pan. Pavley. Aye. Roth. I. Runner, I. Stone, I. Vidak, I. Wachowski, I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Senator Hertzberg moves the call. Moving on to file item 293, members. Senator Leyva. Pass on file. File item 302. Senator Gaines. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 704 by Assemblymember Cooley, an act relating to escrow.
Senator Gaines.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, today I present to you AB 704. AB 704 clarifies how escrow activities are regulated in California by the Department of Insurance and also increases consumer protections against escrow losses. AB 704 would increase the consumer coverage from $7,500 up to a $100,000 bond or cash deposit, unlike the small current certificates of deposit that require the Department of Insurance to get court approval to cash. These bonds would be immediately available for use. This bill has passed the Senate committees and the Assembly floor with bipartisan unanimous support. I would just urge your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen, I. Anderson, I. Bates, I. Bell, I. Berryhill, I. Block, I. Canella, I. De Leon, I. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Galgiani, I. Glazer, I. Hall, I. Hancock, Hernandez, I. Hertzberg, I. Hill, Hueso, I. Huff, Jackson, I. Huff, I. Lotta, I. Leno, I. Leyva, I. Liu, I. McGuire, I. Mendoza, I. Mitchell, I. Monning, I. Morlock, I. Morrell, I. Wynn, I. Nilsson, I. Pan, Pavley, I. Roth, I. Runner, I. Stone, I. Vidak, I. Wachowski, I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Senator Gaines moves the call. Members, we're going to move to quickly back to file item 300. Senator Wynn. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 681 by Assemblymember Ting, an act relating to the State Board of Equalization.
Thank you, Mr. President. AB 681 improves the efficiency of performance audits by allowing the BOE to focus its energy on a larger portion of the assessment role in a shorter period of time. The current assessment program provides valuable information to both assessors and the BOE, but the final report can take up to 2 years to complete, which prevents many assessors from immediately making necessary improvements. Under AB 681's new third-tier system, the BOE will be able to reduce the time needed to complete a survey report by a full year while maintaining the same level of quality. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen, I. Anderson, I. Bates, I. Bell, Berryhill, I. Block, I. Canella, I. De Leon, I. Fuller, I. Gaines, I. Galgiani, I. Glazer, I. Hall, I. Hancock, Hernandez, Hertzberg, I. Hill, I. Hueso, I. Huff, I. Jackson, I. Lotta, I. Leno, I. Leyva, I. Liu, I. McGuire, I. Mendoza, I. Mitchell, I. Monning, I. Morlock, I. Morrell, I. Wynn, I. Nilsson, I. Pan, Pavley, I. Roth, I. Runner, I. Stone, I. Vidak, I. Wachowski, I. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Bell, aye.
Senator Wynn moves the call. Moving on to file item 312, members. There's no. Is there a floor jockey for file item 312, members? Senator Hueso? Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 965 by Assemblymember Eduardo Garcia, an act relating to the California-Mexico border.
Senator Hueso.
Thank you, Mr. President. AB 965 would require the California-Mexico Border Relations Council to establish an efficient and effective mechanism to protect and enhance polluted cross-border urban creeks and watershed. The New River is one of the most polluted rivers in California, one of the most polluted rivers in the nation. Lots more needs to be done to work with Mexico to fix this problem, to correct the contamination that's flowing directly into the Salton Sea. California has developed a strategic plan to begin a comprehensive cleanup and restoration effort for the New River. However, further statutory clarification is needed to define how the strategic plan will be implemented and funded by state agencies. This bill provides the needed statutory clarification to define how specifically the strategic plan will be implemented and funded by state agency. This bill passed the committees and Assembly floor with no opposition. I respectfully ask for your aye vote today.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. I. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nilsson. I. Pan. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Senator Wessel moves the call. Members, moving on to file item 313, Senator Leyva. Pass on file. File item 314, Senator Leyva. File item 318, Senator Wolk. Pass on file. File item 332, Senator Hernandez. Pass on file. File item 333, Senator Canella. Senator Canella? Pass. Pass. File item 342, Senator Glazer. Pass on file. Senator Galgiani? Which item number? 339. 339. Is that a? Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1378 by Assemblymember Holden, an act relating to taxation to take effect immediately. Tax levy.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr. Chair
Galgiani.
and members. AB 1378 recognizes that more Californians are retiring even as housing prices continue to skyrocket and accordingly expands eligibility for Proposition 6090 transfer. This measure provides one base value transfer per person in any state-recognized long-term relationship instead of one transfer per couple. This simple measure will help California seniors on a fixed income handle the growing cost of housing. This measure has no known opposition, and I respectfully request your aye vote.
Thank you. Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. I. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nilsson. I. Pan. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Senator Galgiani moves the call. Members, we're going to move back to file item 258. File item 258, Senator Gomez. Senator Hall. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 88 by Assemblymember Gomez, enacting to taxation to take effect immediately. Tax levy.
Senator Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senators. AB 88 will result in energy and water savings, climate benefits, and lower utility costs for low-income Californians. This bill will provide a sales and use tax exemption for a narrow category of energy and water-efficient home appliances that are provided free of cost to eligible low-income participants in an energy or water-efficient program. It requires that all savings resulting from this exemption be used to purchase more appliances to serve more families in need who would otherwise be unable to afford these energy-saving alternatives. Incentivizing appliance replacement programs will maximize the environmental and energy efficiency of homes, support low-income Californians by lowering their utility and repair costs, and advance the state's greenhouse gas reduction goals. AB 88 has received strong bipartisan support in both houses. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, the better discussion on this item. Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. Bates. Anderson, no. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. DeLeon. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Hancock. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wisso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. Wynn. Aye. Nilsson. No. Pan. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Hall, aye.
Senator Hall moves the
Very
call.
high.
Members, moving on, we're back on file item 346. Senator Roth. File item 346. Pass on file. File item 350. Senator Bell. Pass on file. File item 353. Senator Hill. Pass on file. File item 354. Pass on file. File item 355. Senator Hill. Pass. 356. Pass on file. File item 358. Senator Mendoza. Not at his desk. File item 362. Senator Roth. Not at his desk. File item 370. Senator Pavley. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 549 by Assemblymember Levine, enacting to state parks.
Senator Pavley.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. Assemblymember Levine and I, as chairs of our respective committees that have jurisdiction over state parks, have coordinated together to make some modest reforms based on the implementation of the Parks Forward Commission. And Assemblymember Levine, whose bill I'm strongly supportive of, has in his bill opportunities for the Department of Park and Recreation to develop mutually beneficial partnerships with nonprofits, to accept philanthropic contributions to support parks, to increase affordable overnight accommodation options in state parks. Senate Bill 549 will enhance the tools available to the Department of Public Relations to facilitate partnership agreements, generate increased revenue, and promote public access to the state parks. It also updates and makes more efficient the process for approval of concession agreements. The bill is a companion measure of my own SB 204, which will be heard over in the Assembly. The staff of our two policy committees have been collaborating on both bills and continue to track closely the progress of the department in implementing the recommended reforms. There's no opposition to this bill. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Pavley. Members, debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Huff. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nilsson. Aye. Pan. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Jackson. Jackson we have as aye. Leyva, aye.
Senator Pavley moves the call. Members, we're going to move back to two items, item 359 and file item 365. We're going to begin with 359. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 276 by the Committee on Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials, an act relating to hazardous materials.
Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. AB 276 by the Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials Committee will grant new authority to the Department of Toxic Substance Control, better known as DTSC, that matches existing authority the U.S. EPA has to request financial information from parties potentially responsible for toxic waste cleanup. Under existing state law, DTSC can ask for information related to hazardous materials and waste, but it cannot request information about a party's finances, which could demonstrate that party's ability to pay cleanup costs associated with that party's having made the mess that needs to be cleaned up. Having the authority to ask for financial information will allow DTSC to identify those parties who genuinely lack the ability to pay for cleanup and obviate the need for DTSC to first sue to obtain financial information. Aligning the state law with the federal law will help expedite the cost recovery process and save the state costs otherwise being expended on unnecessary litigation. AB 276 has no opposition, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Senator Nielsen.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I intend to abstain on this issue. It has a good purpose, but I think it is going to be very subject to abuse. It allows the agency to, if you will, shop for the financial depth and resources and get into more of the business of that particular company. And is that for justice to adequately recompense for the damage done? That can be. But can it be for other purposes, less favorable purposes? For example, all of the agencies of government now are simply seeking more money from the taxpayers to fund government. What a great deal to get into all of the depths of the finances. I would like to see a provision in that says that ought not be an issue, the financial total of financial assets of a company in terms of levying the fine. That should not be a part of their regulation. That, well, you can pay more, we're going to hit you up for more. It is just a caution, ladies and gentlemen, but I do predict that this ability will be used in more than a punitive way, in a way by agencies to get more money from businesses in the state of California. And understand that doesn't all mean great big corporations. I can tell you examples of very small corporations in this very region a very small, almost in fact it is a mom and pop operation, came out with Gestapo-like tactics by an agency of government, and they've been hit with a $770,000 fine that will simply put that business out of business. We must be a little bit careful here.
Thank you, members. Additional debate or discussion on this item? Senator Jackson, would you like to close?
Thank you. You know, the purpose of this is to get the polluter to pay so that the taxpayer doesn't have to pay. I suspect that's a notion that most of us would support. This bill simply aligns the state's ability to make inquiry to that which already exists for the United States Environmental Protection Agency. By having that authority, Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, will allow them to identify those potentially responsible parties who genuinely lack the ability to pay for cleanup and no longer require that DTSC have to sue in order to get that information. So I believe this is a bill that does respond to a lot of concerns about unnecessary lawsuits, does require that if the polluter has the resources, they will pay so that the taxpayer doesn't. And again, just simply align state law with federal law. And with that, I would ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Bell. Bates, aye. Bell, aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Cannella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lara. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Morlock. Aye. Monning, aye. Morlock. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nilsson. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wykowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Berryhill, aye.
Call the absent members.
Fuller. Galgiani. Aye. Morlock. Nilsson.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The measure passes. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, if you can indulge me for a quick second, we're going to lift the calls on the 18 items that we have. So if you can please return to your seat or to the chamber so that we can move these items out before we break for caucus. We're going to start with the first item, members, that's on call. It's file item 230, AB 317. That's file item 230. We're going to call the roll once. The object here is to get through these as quickly as possible. Secretary, please call the absent members.